Hi guys, Jasmo here and welcome to my guide for the Chaos Energy Blades Reave build. This build uses the Inquisitor Ascendancy and tons of crazy convoluted game mechanics that come together to form a very fun package. This build has been very fun to play. I did a lot of challenges on this. I wanted to make this project for a while, but I needed the stars to align basically. It was not really possible to make this build very strong last league, even though I already made like a theory craft for it in the previous league. But this league, because of the addition of Awakened Enhanced support, it's possible to make it actually very strong, and it's possible to tackle the entire game on this character. So the basic idea was to build up our flat damage by stacking strength. That strength is gonna give us tons of flat chaos damage from the replica Alberons, and then we're gonna get also tons of mana as well as energy shield from the Shaper's Touch gloves. And by playing a Templar, either by getting the Guardian node or by getting the Hierophant node, the mana that we're getting from these gloves is also like giving us even more energy shield. So we're getting very high amount of energy shield while stacking strength. That energy shield can be converted to damage by using Divergent Energy Blade, and Divergent Energy Blade converts our lightning damage that we get from it to chaos. In order to convert 100% of that, we need level 5 enhance. We need to boost it by even 2 more levels, so we put it in a shield with +2 to level of socketed support gems. That gives me level 7 enhance. We need a 23% quality gem, so Divergent Energy Blades with 23% quality. That's not a very easy gem to find as well. And then we also need to use Ashes of the Stars with 30% quality to all skill gems. So all of that combined allows me to create very cool energy blades. When I use it, you can see the actual weapon. This has 96 to 1912 lightning damage added, and 100% of that lightning damage is converted to chaos, which is absolutely necessary as well, because with the replica Alberon's Warpath, you actually cannot deal non-chaos damage. So even if I didn't want to do it, if I want to combine energy blades, I have to convert 100% of it to chaos, otherwise I'm losing damage. So the attack speed on the weapon, you see, it comes from the enchant actually as well, if you're wondering. So this is a very niche build. I haven't found anybody playing anything like this or anything even similar to this. This build is so niche and the skill is so underutilized that when I was streaming playing with this character, people in chat were literally asking me, how do I find this weapon on trade? Like, that's a cool magic weapon. How do I buy it? Like, where do I buy this weapon from, right? People are unaware that this skill even exists. That's how unpopular this is. So nobody has done anything like this before. That's why I'm making this guide, because it's really hard to find any information on this. The strength stacking part is kind of standard, but the rest of it is not. So let's go first maybe over the items, then I'll go over the gems, and then I'll go over the passives, even though everything goes kind of hand in hand, but I need to kind of stick to some kind of format. So let's go over the items first. First of all, weapon, doesn't matter what you use. I'm using a superior spiked club, 20% quality, we just convert the weapon. Whatever one-handed weapon you have is going to be converted to Divergent Energy Blade when you're using that. So in terms of the helmet, we're using Crown of Ice. You want Crown of Ice with the energy blades have 15% increased attack speed. Attack speed scales very well with our build, gives us tons of damage, so you definitely want that enchant. And you want the Crown of Ice because we are changing the increase to our we're making basically the strength increase that you normally get, which applies to melee physical damage. So you get 5% strength, 1% melee physical damage. Instead of 1%, you're making it actually 50% higher, because strength bonus grants you now 3% increase per 10. So instead of 2 per 10, you get 3 per 10. So you get increased damage, and then you also changing that to apply to spell damage as well by using the Iron Will keystone. And then because you have this huge increase to spell damage now, you can use Crown of Ice, which is going to turn that increase to spell damage to apply to attacks. Because we're not using a physical damage attack, and because of that we would not benefit normally from this strength bonus, we need to do this in order to get this huge multiplier, right? This huge actually increase, right? So we get a massive amount of increase increased damage through the Crown of Ice. This is a huge portion of our damage. The next thing is the chest piece. Chest piece basically gives us a bunch of strength, ton of strength. With the 30% quality, we get also enchant. It gives us even more strength because we don't care that much about that. A little bit of extra armor. We get tons of block. So my character right now has how much block? 67 block, right? So we got 67% attack block because of this, and it also gives me that bonus multiplication, like that higher bonus that we're turning into the increased damage with attacks. Then we've got Ashes of the Stars. Ashes of the Stars is necessary because without it we cannot fully convert the Divergent Energy Blade, so you basically need that to even start thinking about the build. We are allocating Tranquility. You could allocate Panopticon. Panopticon is going to be more single target damage. However, if you're looking to like clear maps, or if you're looking to just do more damage without relying on the totems, then you want to anoint Tranquility because it also is going to make you a little bit more tanky. So that's why I prefer this. It's like, I think it's 5% damage difference, because when I was anointing this one was giving me 10% damage, and this one, the Panopticon, was giving me 15% damage. But I would take this 5% damage hit in order to be more tanky and have more consistent damage without the totems. That's just personal preference, but Panopticon is the most single target that you can get. Then we've got, let's go over other uniques first. We've got Mage Blood. I wanted to make this without Mage Blood, and I would have gotten more strength without Mage Blood. I would have gotten more damage without Mage Blood. This build actually gets more damage without Mage Blood, but it is literally impossible for you to fix your resistances. You really need the, this is like 40% increased elemental resistances, and then we've got also 70 plus 25, so that's 95% increased effect. So that is like what, 80, so that's like 75 or something to all elemental resistances. You really need that. And then we also have the Chaos Res, and even without that we still have just 60 Chaos Res. Didn't manage to cap it yet because I would have to like re-roll my rings or something for that, even better. But it's very hard to get enough resistances without using Mage Blood, and like borderline impossible. You'd have to have some mirror tier items to do that. So for that I just use Mage Blood. Makes it everything much easier and gives you some extra power and extra bossing power for this character. So the Mage Blood is another thing that is necessary. The enchant on it, I recommend enemies withered by you have 6%, like -6% to all resistances. You can buy it with this enchant, or you can run lab for this. This is a massive amount of damage that you're getting from this enchant actually, so it's very important. Then we've got Replica Alberon's Warpath. So Replica Alberon's Warpath is a key part of this build that gives me like basically like half of my damage. It's like half of my damage comes from Divergent Energy Blade and the other half from the Replica boots. 16% increased attack and cast speed if you killed recently. This helps with maps. More speed for shield charging and leap slamming in the maps, and it's just a very more fluid playstyle if you get that enchant. You could also get like the regen if you were hit recently or whatever, like that kind of an enchant. Other than that, there is not much that you can else get on it that would be very helpful. Of course, everything you want decently rolled. This is a pretty min-max build. I have all of these items pretty decently rolled. And then the last unique that we have here is the Shaper's Touch, which has the curse enemies with despair on hit with 48% increased effect. I also got a 9% increased attack speed on it. You don't necessarily need that. It was actually, I probably paid like maybe 6x for this or something like that, because it's very unpopular. Nobody uses that combination of skills, like attack speed, despair on Shaper's Touch. Nobody needed that, so it was actually fairly cheap to get, but it's probably unobtainable right now because it's very rare. But you can basically like double corrupt a bunch of these if you really want to find something good. You can find even better things, like for example plus base crit to attacks would be amazing for this. Then when it comes to the other items, the rares that we're using, we have 3 rares. We have the rings. The rings are very similar. What you're looking for is the 7% increased strength. Basically, it's actually 6%, but it's increased by the catalyst. So 6% increased strength. Synthesis implicit. If you can also get the 6% increased intelligence on it, that would be incredible, because we're scaling intelligence as well. So the int would also give you even more damage. So there is a room to improvement for this. And also if you can get onslaught, that would be even better, right? If you can get onslaught with that, but that's like mirror tier base even. So on these, we basically care about the attributes. So strength, int, So this one, for example, has like essence, strength, T1 int. So you just roll for that. And then you look for the third suffix, which would be either all elemental resistances, all attributes, or chaos resistance. These are the suffixes that you need. And then you basically lock the suffixes after you get like the two T1 attributes, or like essence and T1 attribute and some third good suffix. You lock the suffixes, and then you can, for example, you can reforge, you can do like veiled chaos orb or whatever. I happen to get like a T1 life and then some mana and energy shield. Mana is also a very nice roll for this because it gives you more energy shield, which gives you more damage. And on this one I have like a T2 life and what is the other prefix we got? Fist damage. Oh yeah, T3 energy shield. So like life, energy shield, mana. This is what you want on the prefixes. You can also get minus to cost of skills, but it's actually not necessary because we already have a very, very low cost of skill, like only 11 mana for this skill. And then we have the shield, which is a key piece of this build. You need to have as much energy shield as you can on it. If you can get like 200 plus, that's great. 6% increased strength implicit. We've got essence strength roll with the int roll because this is an energy shield base, so it can roll int only. So that's what you are going to need to get. Then for the last suffix, you want something like elemental resistances or chaos resistance, something like that. And then the crucial important part is the +2 to level of socketed support gems craft. That allows us to get the Awakened Enhanced support to level 7. When it comes to the flasks for the Mage Blood that I'm running, this is basically clear versus single target. So the most damage you're gonna get from a Diamond Flask that has increased attack speed on it instead of crit. Actually, the attack speed is massive, and again 95% increased effect because we're using Mage Blood, so tons of crit, tons of attack speed. Then we've got armor, just armor with armor. That's the most defense you can get on the flask. It just increases our armor to the point where we actually become tanky. Then we've got amethyst with elemental resistances, and then we've got quicksilver with reduced effect of curses on you. With the reduced effect of curses on you, you actually get like 50%, I think, reduced effect of curses on you because we got the consecrated ground. But if you want to get the 100% without like a passive skill point in a pantheon, then you can get the curse effect on this. Otherwise, I think I have another flask here. That is this one, yes. Increased movement speed during flask effect, so you can sacrifice that little bit of extra vulnerability to curses, but with this I am like completely immune to these curses. And then for single target, we're using Bottled Faith, which adds a massive amount of damage, but it's only pretty much like a one-use thing to melt the boss. Or we're using a Cinder Swallow Urn because this is a unique Onslaught Flask that allows us to get Onslaught. We get some extra recovery for Energy Shield when we kill enemies. So we have a Life Leech, Energy Shield recovery, and then we have Regen for both. So we have very, very good recovery with this while mapping. It's really, really powerful. Let's go over the gems now, I guess, right? So the gems are a very, very important part of this build. The main skill that we're using is Reave, and I'm actually using Phantasmal Reave. Didn't even get level 21 Reave yet. It would add only like 1 million DPS with like 40 million DPS, right? Because if you look at the POE right now, we have like 41 million DPS, and this is Cyrus DPS, right? With the config set for how you would actually fight Cyrus. So 41 million DPS on this setup that I have here currently. You can become much more tanky and have, like, for example, 30 million DPS, which would also allow you to do simulacrums easier, because for simulacrums you actually need to be pretty tanky. But for the Reave, I'm using Phantasmal Reave because it gives you more stages, so I don't need to use the Val version, and because we're also getting tons of quality from the Ashes of the Stars, this gives me +5 to maximum stages, which makes it so that I have a very, very big AoE all the time, and I don't need to use the Val skill. It's much easier to use. I prefer using the Phantasmal Reave over the Val version of the skill. Then we've got Awakened Void Manipulation. The +1 to supported Chaos skill gems doesn't help us in any way because we're not using a Chaos skill, even though we do Chaos damage. But it's just the most damage multiplier that you can get on another link here. Then I'm using Awakened Increased Area of Effect. This is something that for single target you can swap with concentrated effect, and that is going to give you your maximum single target damage. But for clearing and just for ease of use, the awakened increased AoE is going to be very, very powerful. You still have like over 30 million DPS with that gem in. So most of the time I'm using the awakened increased AoE support. Then we have increased critical damage for some extra crit multi, very self-explanatory. Awakened multi-strike, just the most damage you can get for like a melee skill like that can be supported by multi-strike. And then we've got faster attacks as well, because again, this build scales very, very well with cast speed. In the shield, we've got the Divergent Energy Blade, level 21, 23 quality. The quality is the most important thing. You need at least 22 quality, I guess. So you need to have it corrupted and you need to have that extra quality on it to convert 100% to chaos. So Divergent Energy Blade with the Awakened Enhance, which is level 7 here. That gives me 48% extra quality, which is massive. And it happens to also work very, very well with the Anomalous Withering step, because as you can see, if you can read the skill, inflicts 16 wither debuffs immediately, right? So I basically pressed my wither and I got fully withered everything around me, like 100%, like fully, like all 15 stacks of wither with one press without the helmet enchant or anything else, just by using the Anomalous Withering step, because we get 100% quality on it. So it's absolutely massive. Then we've got the boot setup has the mobility, so we got shield charge, phantasmal leap slam, because it gives me like extra attack speed, so it just makes it faster with faster attacks. So that makes me just basically be able to just move around the map very quickly. And then we have Enduring Cry, which gives me a massive amount of regen. If you ever see in the footage of mapping that I have, like I lose health and then I recover it very, very quickly. Sometimes it's with Enduring Cry. Like usually you have a lot of regen and leech. This build has pretty good recovery, but with Enduring Cry, that regen, instead of being 2.1k life regenerated, if you're actually missing energy shield and life, you're going to be regenerating 4.2k life over 1 second. So this is better than any flask I could use. That's why I'm not using any life flasks, because it would be simply a waste of slot. The Enduring Cry is much more powerful than any flask I could use. It also makes me more tanky, and it also adds to the damage through the Instruments of Virtue node, right? So Enduring Cry, super, super powerful on this character. Then we've got the Awakened Enlighten 5 here. Actually, I think I was getting away with Enlighten 4, but I got the Awakened Enlighten 5 actually from, what was it from? I don't remember how I got it, but this was something that enabled me to run even higher level of precision. Without that, you basically run slightly lower level of precision, but I can run max level of precision because of that and still have tons of mana to do everything. So we've got Enlighten with Determination, just for the defense, Purity of Elements, so that we're immune to all ailments. And again, it's very hard to fix your elemental resistances with this character, so Purity of Elements is necessary. And then we've got Discipline as well for the extra energy shield, which adds tankiness as well as damage. Then we have Anomalous Precision, because that has increased reservation efficiency, actually goes to 50% because we got that extra quality from the ashes. Then we've got Blood Rage, because we want to be faster, we want to attack faster. Again, build scales very well with attack speed. Blood and Sand, because this gives me either more AoE or more damage. It's a very huge multiplier for single target actually. And then we've got Divergent Skitterbots, so we can apply Shock and Chill for the bosses so that they move slower and take more damage. And then we've got also Ancestral War Chief with the Val Ancestral War Chief, Anomalous Ancestral Protector, and Multiple Totems. Multiple Totems gives me +2 to number of summon totems, so I can summon both types. As you can see here on the buffs, I have 1 of one kind and 2 of the other kind, so you can have both of them up, and the Val version as well. And that's it, I think, when it comes to the gems. If you have any questions about any parts of this build, because it's very complicated, you can let me know in the comments below, but everything is also in the POE. And now the passive skill tree, which I'm sure this can be improved, okay? Like, I tried to min-max this as much as I could. I spent a lot of time on this, but I'm sure, like, if a lot of people look into this build, they will find things that they can still improve. The very important thing, the thing that gives you tons of damage, is the crit multi-nodes and the strength. There are actually multiple versions of this skill tree that I played with, but let's first go over the ascendancy points. So for the ascendancy, we have the Instruments of Virtue. This is basically 30% more attack damage because we're using the Withering Step, we're using Blood Rage, which also counts as a spell, and we're using the Enduring Cry, and with those going off like within 8 seconds, they go off like more than 3 times, like combined. So we're getting the full 30% more damage for this node. Then we've got Righteous Providence. This is a massive, this is like the reason why we're playing Inquisitor. We get increased critical strike chance per point of intelligence or strength, whichever is lower. So my int is lower and I get still like 500 int. So this is a decently big amount. That's why, again, the implicits on these rare items, if you can get int, will give you even more crit chance and will make it very easy to cap your crit with that. So this gives me ton of crit. Then we've got the Sanctuary and Pious Paths. So we got the Consecrated Ground, and we are recovering, like regenerating both life and energy shield at the same time. And this is very relevant, and it actually works all the time because we always take both. We have Corrupted Soul here, which comes from the Glorious Vanity in the name of Doriani. The Corrupted Soul makes it so that you get 50% of non-chaos damage, bypassing the energy shield. So we're actually constantly taking damage on our life pool, but we have life regen and we have life leech, and we have some other sources of recovery, which makes it so that we're constantly healing that, and we're constantly recovering also the energy shield. So this makes it so that basically my regen is doubled pretty much effectively. It's a very, very powerful node. A lot of like hardcore soul cell found builds that do a lot of like bosses, like people who compete in the boss races in hardcore soul cell found use this combo because it's very, very strong. And that's another reason why we have a very strong, like Inquisitor is very strong, right? For the small nodes, I divined it a few times until we got movement speed, critical strike chance, and critical strike multiplier, and then we got fire damage, which doesn't do anything for me. The other important thing here is we are using large cluster jewels that are very unique. These are very expensive or very difficult to make. However, while making them, you will accidentally or like as a byproduct make also int stacking jewels. So actually it's not as expensive to make them as it is to buy them. But this is almost perfect. The only thing that could be better is the energy shield roll, but it's the least important one. So we've got T1 strength, we've got T1 to all attributes, and we've got 35% increased effect, and we've got also 9 to maximum energy shield, which becomes actually 12 to maximum energy shield. So as you can see, because of the 35% increased effect, we've got +5 to all attributes, 13% increased spell damage, 12 to maximum energy shield, and 10 strength on each of these nodes. The base that you want it on is actually the spell damage one, because the easiest way to roll this would be actually on a chaos base, but the chaos base gives you 12% increased damage, and this one gives you 15. And why does it give you 15? Because the 10% increased spell damage is actually being multiplied by 150%. So increases and reduction to spell damage apply to attacks at 150% of their value. That's why spell damage is actually better than any attack or like chaos damage that I could get. So that's why this is the best base for it. I also took time to on some of these jewels to roll chance to avoid being stunned. So we got chance to avoid being stunned on this jewel, a chance to avoid being stunned on this jewel, and then I was trying to get this also on the cluster jewels and on the other prismatic jewel that we have. But yeah, those are the cluster jewels. This is exactly what you want. Instead of the all attributes, you could go with int. Instead of 35%, you could have 25%, or you could have life, but that would be, of course, worse. This is like the best you can possibly get. The only thing that can be better, again, is the T1 roll on energy shield instead of T2. So I got two cluster jewels that are basically exactly the same. Then we've got Corrupted Blood Jewel, just simply a bunch of strength and Corrupted Blood Jewel. I could get something better in its place, actually, but yeah, definitely need Corrupted Blood Immunity. And then we've got Megalomaniac, again, attack speed, strength, increases to energy shield, chaos damage. Those are very good mods. So this is the Megalomaniac I got, and it gives me a lot of damage per point spent. So actually it's more efficient than going for some other passives. We're running also Emperor's Mastery. Emperor's Might is the more budget version, but again, this costs like 15x right now is the cheapest. I should probably lower the price then to 15x, but this is what you want to use first, the budget option, right? And then Emperor's Mastery, very, very expensive jewel, actually 130x. I think I bought it for less than that. It even increased in price right now. So this is a super expensive jewel, but of course, it's the best possible jewel you can get for this build. So that's why we got that. We're running through these nodes. These are pretty efficient. We're getting the extra int. We're getting the crit multi, very, very strong wheel in here. And then we're getting a super expensive, powerful giga combo of the Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame that gives me Sanctuary of Thought. This is again like 100x cost or something. What is it? 64x, and this is 16. So that is 80x right now for this combo. It's a very expensive build, but this combo gives me, the Sanctuary of Thought gives me 20% of maximum mana as extra energy shield. So again, we're stacking energy shield, stacking mana from the strength because of the Shaper's Touch gloves, and that mana is giving us even more energy shield. Then we've got also 25% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. This is amazingly powerful. Then we've got basically 0 AoE because we are reserving all of our mana. And then we've got 50% less mana cost of skills, which is also allowing us to reserve more mana. So extremely, extremely powerful. It's stronger than the Guardian version. The Guardian version that gives you the mana per energy shield, like per reserved energy shield, only gives you 10%. This one gives you 20%. That's why this is so powerful for this build. We're running Iron Will in here. We're running, of course, the strength and +5 to all attributes. We are also running Call to Arms so that our work rate is instant and we can just press it while running and we don't have to stop. Split personality with strength and int ×2. This is the furthest slot I could think of to fit it. I looked also into this slot. If I put cluster jewel here, it would be exactly the same. You could try to figure out some like alternative pathing where you spend more points and maybe that would give you more damage, but there is nothing really obvious that I could think of. But if you can think of something, then that would be amazing. And then we've got these sword nodes. This mastery is actually extremely powerful. So this sword mastery either gives you 8% chance to gain frenzy charge when you hit a unique enemy. That's why we got frenzies while bossing as well, which is very, very useful. And that's why if you look at the frenzy charges, you're gonna think about like, how do you get frenzy charges while bossing for all that DPS? That's how we get them. We get frenzy charges when we hit enemies. And then if you are not bossing and you're doing a content where you care, let's say you're doing like expeditions or mapping or simulacrums, you can actually pick the reduced enemy chance to block sword attacks. The last option there, super powerful, super nice. It makes all these like Sentinel monsters, like the monsters that block your attack damage, much easier to deal with, and you won't feel like you're actually even dealing any less damage against them because they pretty much have like 50% chance to block or something very similar. So this is very, very powerful against those. Crit multi, mana reservation, then we've got also some armor evasion all res, and then we've got Watcher's Eye. On the Watcher's Eye I got crit multi while affected by precision and attack speed while affected by precision. This is what you care about. You can also get like chance to block spell damage, you can get like extra physical damage mitigation or whatever else, but like the precision mods are the ones that are going to give you the most damage. And that's basically it when it comes to the passives. Very, very complex build. I'm gonna leave you guys with some footage of whatever I didn't show. Like there are gonna be bosses. I'll show you like fragments of simulacrum. I'll show you some mapping so that you can see the clear speed and judge the build for yourself. But again, this is a very, very expensive build. You need basically a mirror to just start it. There is no budget version of this. There's no budget version. So if you are just looking for like, oh, what's a good build to play right now? Don't look at this, right? This is something to do for fun. If you have a mirror to spend on a funky build and you want to be a unique hipster that has a build that nobody else has right now, except for me, I guess, then you're gonna be able to have a lot of fun with this, do some challenges and try to min-max this. And I really encourage people who like building characters, who like making new builds, to see if they can min-max this even further, because I think this combo of like Shaper's Touch, stacking energy shield and stacking mana but just by getting them by getting strength, just getting that combined with the Alberon's Warpath, it's like triple dipping basically. We are basically triple dipping with this character, and it has very specific requirements. That's why we cannot do even more damage. But imagine if we could like change Ashes of the Stars into like a strength stacking amulet, and if we could change a belt into a strength stacking amulet, this damage would get out of hand very, very quickly. It would be like 100 million damage. You could basically double your DPS and have even more life and energy shield, which is very, very powerful. Another option, another thing, if you ever want to play this character, that I can recommend is picking up the Fortify nodes. Every now and then, depending on the content I do, if I want to be more tanky, there are some options to sacrifice some damage. So you basically take away points from here for this like life and attack speed, and take away points from here if you want, and you can maybe take away some crit multi. And the defensive options that you have available are picking Fortify from the mastery, so like these 3 points and the mastery that gives you Fortify, which is how I have Fortify in some of the clips that you're gonna be seeing. And then you can also grab this regen node, this triple node with the Hearthy. That 50% increased life regeneration rate is very massive. And then another thing you can also do is, instead of shield charge, phantasmal leap slam and faster attacks, you can only run, let's say, leap slam or whatever you want, and then you can run vitality with anomalous arrogance, reserve a little bit of your life, and especially in combination with Hearthy, it's gonna give you an absolutely stupid regen. That's just a tip for any character basically that you are playing. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this has been informative and interesting. It's a very, very unique build. Thank you for watching, and see you next time, guys.